We are ahead of our time today, so please come up with your questions, whatever is on your mind, if you want to ask any of our guests anything. Now you're more than welcome to. We are an hour ahead, so we'll have a long pause, won't we, Vesna? We'll have a longer pause for coffee.
So now it's time for questions.
Also, you can add something if you wish. We have plenty of time. Yes? Is there a suggestion? Yeah? Fanny?
Well, the video is somewhere here. We can see it. And by the way, the person that we collaborate for this video is Lucas Garibaldi. Lucas Garibaldi is the president of Bee Flora Commission in Apimondia and professor in the university in Argentina, and he was the one who won the Gold Bee Award last year. Okay? So we did this together. Let's see, but we need also, it didn't take some time, we tested before, but we also need the voice, the sound. I see it here, but you don't see it.
And its impact.
So maybe, yeah. One moment. Shall I close it and you will put it again?
Bee health and its impact on human health. How are we affected by the world around us? Our environment's harmony, health, and beauty are based, to a large extent, on the variety of its flora and fauna. Since we are part of the environment, our well-being is also linked to this biodiversity. When we speak of healthy bee communities, we refer to those having sustained species diversity over time. But how is this linked to our well-being? Studies over the last 10 years have shown 4 main positive aspects of healthy bee communities over humans. First, nutrition. Bees are the main pollinators of most food crops. Therefore, they benefit the quantity and nutritional quality of vegetables, fruits, and seeds, essential foods for our diets. Second, unique and valuable products. Bees produce honey, pollen, propolis, royal jelly, and wax, and also pollinate approximately 28,000 medicinal and aromatic plants. There is strong evidence that these products and foods improve our well-being when used as medicines and cosmetic supplies. Third, mental health. The green spaces and biocultural landscapes that bees help sustain are environments that we enjoy, allow us to connect with life in nature, and improve our mental health. Beekeeping and agrotourism in its all variants are fundamental examples of activities that contribute to human well-being. 4. Less polluted environments. Bees depend heavily on plants and are highly affected by pollutants such as agrochemicals, heavy metals, and biocides. Initiatives seeking to minimize their use to ensure pollinators' health, reduce toxic waste, and promote healthier environments for all. To summarize, diverse communities are a good indicator of healthy environmental conditions for human beings.
Może
Okay. I would like to ask to Dr. Bevk Danilo, please. Hello, I'm Mara from Bergamo, and I'm interested in knowing if there's any research going on in Slovenia on the competition between honeybees and other pollinators in urban areas, because this is a whole project running around the promotion of beekeeping, bees, bee products. But as you said, we've also known from our universities and professors that we are not studying enough wild pollinators, and that there might be a competition for food and for nesting places in cities. So I was wondering if this is a topic of concerns for you too.
Thank you for this very interesting and important question. This is a topic that has been discussed very much over the last years, especially abroad. However, there was no research in Slovenia so far. But as I said, the conditions are worsening. There is less and less food for honeybees and wild pollinators alike. Even beekeepers say that food is lacking, so food for bees. At the same time, as I also said, the number of honeybees in other countries, including Slovenia, is increasing. So there are increasing numbers of bees and decreasing amounts of food. So wild pollinators surely have less food than they would have if there were less bees, fewer bees. But food is not the only problem. Another problem is diseases and pests. There are various diseases that honeybees have, and they are transferable. So wild pollinators can also get them. Since there are increasing numbers of honeybees, if they are sick, they can infect wild pollinators. 4 out of 5 bee viruses were found in bumblebees, for example, as well, in a study that we performed. So this is another problem. And I think that in the future, this topic will need to have more attention. One of the goals of beekeeping is that we do not have too high numbers in honeybees, because it soon can become non-economical. For wild pollinators, the situation is even worse. If there is a lack of food, honeybees still have other solutions, because beekeepers can give bees sugar and other fruits, whereas wild pollinators are left to their own devices.
Well, if I may comment on that, in general, I'm in line with Danilo. Dear Danilo, we are also partners in research project, Safe AgroBee. I'm very happy about that. So let's make a few things clear. I mean, I'm a researcher working on honeybees, but having a global approach on the protection of the bees, you cannot say that you cannot really think about the other kind of bees. As I said, there are 20,000 species around the world. In my country, Greece, Mediterranean country, we think that we should have above 1,500. We don't know them all. So this is one thing, that they are really very important for the biodiversity. Also, we think that the wild pollinators and the wild bees or solitary bees are more vulnerable to the climate change or the pesticides, because first, it is their way of going around and searching for food. It is their living and the nest sites that they are in particular areas, so they can also be affected by the soil, not only by the food, but there are no beekeepers protecting them. The honeybees, they are the beekeepers that we do most. Still, the transfer of the diseases or the lack of food is for all the bees. I think, and I'm very strong about this because I have too many arguments, it's just we did not really publish this article from Apimondia, is that personally, I don't think that there is general competition between the wild bees and the solitary bees, unless it is a particular environment which is very, very sensitive, and the density of the honeybees is too high. So we need to work, beekeepers, together with environmentalists, against the very high density of the beehives. But very high density of beehives, it's not also good for the beekeepers, because otherwise they will have 1,000 colonies in an area where it can support 100 colonies, as an extreme example, and finally they will not have enough food. So nobody wants to have high density. What we need to work towards too is the protection of all species, but also the health of the environment. Because if there are less pesticides, if there are a lot of green areas, but not green, what I call the green deserts, but areas that they can provide food for all the bees, then there shouldn't be any competition. Now, of course, there is also this transfer of the diseases and the viruses, but there was all over the years. If they come together, they are there. We also need to think about it, and I urge you to work together with the scientists towards the, there is a guidance now, a guidelines document produced by EFSA, which is the European Food Safety Authority, and for first time ever since 2013, they are trying also to include the other bees, solitary bees and bumblebees in there. And because there is a lot of pressure of the industry for the chemicals that they produce, they try to put a kind of a threshold which is really very high. And we want to bring this threshold as low as possible. Apimondia, BeeLife, I can't remember now, all the other environmental NGOs in Europe will work to have accepted levels less than 3% of the number of populations or nests. And the industry and others, they want to have it as high as possible. So I think that it is a false dilemma to work towards competition between honeybees and other kinds of bees. The best way is to work towards protection of all bees and work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Fanny. Now I'd like to invite all the other participants to take part in the discussion. There are about 80 participants with us online. So if you could be so kind as to show your face, this would be also nice to see you if you can see us. And then here is Ms. Markovčić with a question. Well, I actually have a request. Dr. Danilo Beuk, if you could maybe expand on how Ljubljana is tackling the monitoring of bees. I know that there is no detailed data as of yet, but could you tell more about the ways that we are trying to monitor all the things you have referred to? Then the second point I have, in our strategy, one of the few things that will decrease is the number of bees in the city. We have found that promotion has worked. Promotion activities have worked on increasing bees, but within the urban city center, the number of bees is too high. The density is too high. This is why we have diseases and so on. But as we saw in other fields, we need to work with people. In the 2021 to 27 programming period, we will work with beekeepers to try to have a sustainable number of bees in the city so that they have optimal conditions to live in. Well, thank you for this question. The city of Ljubljana left some flowery meadows to late mowing. This began in 2020. So these meadows were left alone until July. There we monitored the number of honeybees. You will actually get the report this week. We found as many as 40 species of wild bees on these meadows. And this is only the beginning. As years go by and as this meadow really starts to flourish, we will probably find even more. There's another kind of monitoring in Ljubljana that is part of a national-wide, Slovenia-wide monitoring. We are sampling bees, and I can share with you the data for the first 2 years. We have found over 100 species of bees in Ljubljana, and I'm sure that we have missed some, and there could be more. Maybe other cities can answer the same question. Bergamo, you also said that you monitor and document this, and maybe Greece. What do you do? Do you increase or decrease numbers when it comes to beekeeping?
Okay, we actually are not monitoring wild bees, and our concern is that Bergamo is in the middle of one of the most urbanized areas of Europe. So the potential of blossoms, of flowering meadows is not big enough. This is our concern. Maybe it's not true, but until we do not do research, we will not know. What the concern is that the potential is not high enough to sustain both wild bees and honeybees, particularly during the summer. Yes, for example, last summer with this incredible heat wave, there was no food at all for bees, and for sure there was no for wild bees. Thank you.
Okay, now I'm speaking for Osijek, Croatia. I actually don't have much information on that topic because in my ULG I have really good experts such as Dr. Zlatko Puškadja. I believe you have worked with him. And they do a lot of research on their department because they have actually the beekeeping department at the University of Osijek. And actually what I learned from them is that the honeybees in our area are not endangered. Actually, there's a huge number and a huge variety, but the wild pollinators are a topic that we are not dealing with as much as we could and as much as we should. So this project actually started some conversation on that topic, and I think it's really valuable.
Now I'm asking Bergamo to Bansko to answer the same question, and if Ana Liro from Portugal is with us, I ask you to answer for your city. So please, Svetanka.
Nice to see you all. It's a pleasure for us to meet you in this conference, despite its final. I would like to say that this is a topic which is of interest in all cities, and it is probably something that we should continue with, and it is probably something that is a topic in development, and we need to learn more about it. That is why our ULGs and our experts take active participation in our work in order to have further interest, to have I don't know, further cooperation to go on with our work, to broaden our network, to make more friends, and to be more, I don't know, probably to be more interested in not only in bees, but all topics around bees, including economic development, including environmental protection, including biodiversity, and so on. That's why I think we need to be together and work furthermore.
Thank you, Svetanka. Any other city would like to comment on this issue? On this issue?
I apologize. I will speak in Slovene. I'm not used to having interpreters available. So again, I would like to balance this discussion. So far, we've heard a lot on bees and other pollinators, but I'd like to say something else, which is also important. What Fanny said, we must work with people to be able to address this topic as we must. And there's a story, something that happened in Ljubljana once we started changing the mentality of citizens, of residents. So when we started working with, when we started supporting bees in Ljubljana, we had late mowing, and we worried what people will say. They are used to having mowed lawns in the city. And the reactions were as we thought. Again, you didn't mow the grass. But as we raised awareness, there was a different extreme. Once we come to mow the lawn, people start screaming, you are too early. Why are you mowing lawns? You shouldn't do that. So first there was one thing, and there the opposite. So again, this goes to show that by working together, we can do a lot, especially within cities. And I think that we will learn something from this as we go on. Yes, now let us go back to Fanny. There is a first question, the first question that we have online.
Thank you. Because we talked about synergies, and I just remember that there are the projects called citizen scientists projects. And this is really, really very good. We use this in a very big project called Insignia, already a pilot project, and now we started having citizen scientists that they are beekeepers collecting all sorts of samples for biomonitoring of the environment in all 27 EU countries. It will start next year. Just finished the pilot. That means also that citizen scientist projects like, for example, monitoring the wild pollinators, they do exist, and there are applications also that you take a picture and the area, and then you upload this, and then immediately people that they can recognize, but they need to be good pictures, they can recognize the pollinators, the bee or the other pollinator, and they can put it in the database. There are several of these projects. So we can really connect these two together. The bee path network of the cities, or what we have done till now here, and work also with citizen scientists. Because this way, we can also monitor the other bees as well. So why not? It's part of our also environmental friendly approach.
Vala?
Thank you very much. We have another question, an expert question pertaining on bees, and I'm sure that a lot of you will be able to answer it. Who would like to answer? It's an online question. Today we're very digital. We have projections on all parts of our room, and on the back screen, questions that come via internet appear. Is any one of you able to answer the question that we received via internet? We will look for an expert that will be able to respond later on. And now let's move on with another question.
Okay, maybe Google can answer that question. My name's Eddie Adams. I'm a program expert for RBACT. Thanks to the speakers, first of all. Congratulations to BPathNet for putting bees on the map. So done a great job. And I guess a couple of reflections and then a question. And Fanny talked about how during the pandemic, air quality improved in cities like Rome. We could see the beneficial effects. And I guess a couple of years ago, we all hoped that some of the good things, the few good things we saw in the pandemic might continue. And here we are, and we seem to have completely rushed back to normal. So everything seems to have gone back to how it was before. So there's a sense of it maybe being a missed opportunity. And also, Ljubljana is one of the 100 climate neutral cities. It's in that very special band of 112 cities actually who have this. They're in the front row of, making sure we are climate neutral by 2030. So in terms of just joining some of the dots, or doing a bit of cross-pollination. So I guess my question is, many of the cities involved in both of these networks have been quite small cities. So my question is, how do we get the message out to larger cities? And how do we get the message out full stop? So for those who've been part of this journey, who are still part of the journey, if we're looking to get this message out to other cities, because we need to get critical mass, obviously, what are the main barriers when we involve other cities in these discussions? And then what are the main assets we have to bring to the conversation to help other cities get on board? So what are the main barriers to other cities, embracing all these brilliant things that we've heard? I mean, you listen to it, it's a no-brainer. It ticks all the boxes. As Adele said, it covers everything, and you go, every single city should be, pushing this agenda, but we know they're not. So why not? And what can we do to try and get more cities on side? I'm looking at you, Mariska, to get us started. So, but sure, I'm hoping other people might have some suggestions too. Thanks.
Yes, I will respond to you partially. We're part of a Transfer Network project, and our task was to transfer our knowledge to 9 cities. But as we're going to present you in the second part of today's event, we managed to achieve so much more than that. However, the first step should be made in our heads, and this is the main answer to your question, in the head of the mayor. I hope that in the afternoon, we will see the birth of something bigger. And now, Maruszka. Yes, that's true. Individual people on the right places, that's what you need. We can address other cities, we can try to reach them, but if we do not reach those people that are in charge of certain topics or certain policies, this is not so successful. So we have to reach people that will help us implement our ideas. It is easier to start with smaller cities because they are more flexible. And in this way, we're trying to accumulate a critical mass. 30 small cities in Greece can do more than Athens alone, for example. And this is what we are striving for. We do not reject anyone. We embrace them all, and we are building our story slowly, step by step. But this, of course, means that we have to be persistent because it takes longer to see results. And this is something that we are going to talk about in the afternoon. Big cities, I believe that they have been doing a lot already, but under the title of green cities, sustainable development, maybe they don't even think of pollinators and bees. People who hear about activities such as ours can say, oh, interesting, and then they forget about it. We do intend to target bigger cities. Of course we do, and I hope that we will be successful. Within the project, since 2018, when it started, we celebrated 3 World Bee Days. We let the partner cities to celebrate in their own ways. However, we prepared round tables within each celebration, and everyone had to invite at least one city to their round table. And everyone carried that out. And this was one way how we tried to multiply the effects of our project. So are there any other comments to this question? Otherwise, we will continue with other questions. Anya?
Fanny. Okay.
Thank you. Oh, no problem. I will continue from what Maruska just said, because this is a good example from our own experience. I mean, you mentioned Athens. Athens is a huge area, city, but at the end, I don't know how many municipalities are in Athens, because it's parts and parts and parts. Like, for example, in Budapest, our colleagues are from the 12th district. That means that there is a local, let's say, government. So decisions are taken in the local part. The good example, if there is a good example, then it can be disseminated. So what happens with Athens is that we approach one of the municipalities, that it is very problematic because it was the area where they move all the rubbish. It is a very active municipality. We had somebody that we knew in the municipality, and the mayor itself, he drove 6 hours to come from Athens to my place to meet me and another colleague to discuss how we can improve the environment in their city, because they hear about BPathNet from a common person, of course. But it is only one municipality in the huge area, and it could be the good example in the huge town. So starting working with small cities or parts of the municipalities, the huge ones, then that's another example. Thank you.
Are there any further questions, or have we come to a point when we really need coffee? Before we let you go, then I would like to say that the URBACT initiative will make an overview of what are the good tasks, good activities of the current period that should be promoted in the following one. But now we have another comment. I'm a beekeeper from Ljubljana, the president of one of the societies. We've been active at the very beginning of the bee path. We are very active and we are very happy of the developments. But when you were asking about bee cities, it came to my mind that URBACT has its headquarters in Paris. And in 2015, when we started with our project, or better, we started already in 2011 with beehives on the Sancăreu Dom Congress Center, while in our gardens, beehives existed long before that. But I wanted to say that in Ljubljana today, within the motorway ring, this is about 70 square kilometers, we have about 800 beehives, which is the same number approximately than in Paris, which is 10 times larger. And this is one of the problems that we are already facing in Ljubljana, and we are trying to solve it. 2 years ago, I had a presentation for a tourist organization in Ljubljana. I presented this problem, and I read a lot about Paris at that time, And I know that they are very active in this area. So we are much bigger in terms of beekeeping today than Paris, and we're setting an example. I'd like to ask Clement to answer to the question, how many beekeepers are included in the project? This is a question from the net. I do not have a concrete number, but the distribution is approximately as follows. When we started with this good practice, we had 35 members in one city. The first project included 6 cities and more than 300 people involved in the bee path. Today, we have 10 cities and more than 500 people are involved in this story around Europe within their local and regional nets. And I would say that 10 to 15% of these people are beekeepers, which shows us that the story is much larger than just beekeeping. The bee is a symbol that managed to connect people with various backgrounds, from various professionals with various interests. They came together and started cooperating, looking for synergies in order to reach their personal goals and improve with common work, which is a nice experience, and bees are a symbol of it as well. Beekeepers are in the center of our group, of our family, but far from being the only ones. Before we conclude the first morning part, I should add that the Ljubljana team shares the opinion that the approach that we needed to establish a local herb group seems a bit odd at the beginning, but today we are great advocates of it. It is necessary that every city includes various stakeholders with various approaches, and it's the duty of the city to listen to them and help them develop their ideas and contribute to the project. Without URBACT members, none of our groups could be as successful as we are. So not just thank you to URBACT for being here today, but to be this excellent tool. And now, if there aren't any questions or comments left, I would like to invite you to have a short break with refreshments. And of course, you're free to chat. At about 11:40, you will notice that Clement and I are going around, and this will be a signal that we should slowly come back here. Thank you.